What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Ballin' Out. Here I'm your host, Sean Robinson, co-host Grant Rhodes here. And we're finally, in the midst of starting basketball, watching basketball being played. Been some great games recently. Great past couple days, watching basketball. It's just good to watch basketball again. So we're just gonna, go through the games and some of the key games and break those down and, give our highlights and positives and negatives of each game. So be interesting and fun take for you guys. Thursday, opening day. Start with the let's start with the Pelicans and Jazz actually first. Zion, he actually played. Didn't play the only game. He only played like 18 minutes or so, whatever. Because he's still on that minutes restriction. But funny thing about this game is that Rudy Gobert ended the season on March 11th and then started it and scored the first buckets and and the restart. So I thought that was pretty funny. But this game, Jazz won by two, 106-104. You know, the Pelicans, they're fighting to get in that playoff spot, that eight spot. They're fighting to get there, and they, so far have not been successful. Um, yeah, here's a question, Grant. You think they're gonna make it? They got Zion, and they're 0 for 2 right now. We'll get to yesterday's game in a little bit. But what do you think about this team?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch this game live. Jets Pizza had me had me out there delivering. Uh, it is what it is. But I did get to see some of the highlights and got to watch a good amount of it later on. But without when Zion went out of the game, the team just didn't look the same. Lonzo definitely didn't look himself out there. He didn't shoot the ball too well, 2 of 13. That's not the best shooting performance. Um, definitely some room for improvement. Obviously, this was only the first game, out of 100+ day, break. So
Right.
not going to judge it too heavily, but you know, for the Pelicans, they weren't really in a place where they could afford to drop too many games. So especially dropping this first one, and especially how they lost, so close. That's
Yeah.
definitely gonna hurt. And moving forward, who knows? I don't personally see them, really bouncing back from this, and I don't see them winning out. So personally, I think their playoff chances are kind of done after this. But gives it time to rest Zion, make sure he's 110% healthy going into the next season. Get the team really getting ready to go for the next season, and you know go from there. Because I think they're done as far as playoff hopes go for this now season.
Yeah, playoff hopes are getting pretty slim for them. Then everybody was talking about how they have a chance, and they did have a chance, but I just think need a little bit more. I feel like just watching the highlights and stuff like that, I actually did catch a little bit of that game. I feel like the Pelicans, like, they need Zion on the court to actually, like, play, like, actually be at that level that they are. I'm not sure why, but I mean, it's just, that's how, like, that's what it looks like on the court. Because when he's not on the court, they kind of like lag and they go to Brandon Ingram, which I mean, he's showing up. He on Thursday, did a great job, dropped 23 points, but on 7 of 20 shooting. So I mean, he could do a little bit better than that. Um, but yeah, I just feel maybe Zion needs to get healthy, get his body right, and then come back next season and get that playoff berth for New Orleans. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for the Pelicans. And then prime time matchup, we had round four of the Battle of LA. Fortunately, the Clippers lost by two, only by two though. And I was watching that game, and it's just we talked about it. After we're missing two key players for that Clippers team, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. Uh, That's like 30, 35 points from the bench right there. Um, but Paul George is showing signs of that Paul George that we're used to. He's getting back shooting 11 for 17, 6 from 11 from three, dropped 30 points, and then Kawhi, we all know what he does, 28 points. Um, but then the Lakers, man, I mean, Anthony Davis, third quarter, and it was just lighting up. He went on like a 12-0 scoring run himself. He dropped like three threes and got some man ones and stuff like that. Ended up with 34, 8 of 19 from shooting. Went to the line a whole bunch, like the whole game. He got like 17 points from the line himself. Um, so it's not too bad for that game. So what are your takes from that game?
Uh, Obviously, I mean, main takeaway is it's a good win for the Lakers. You gotta take them when you get them. I mean, this was not a perfect game by any means, though. I think by both teams. We definitely saw some rust as far as the turnovers go from, even both teams. It's just again not to put too much pressure on it because these players have been basically at home for 100 plus days. Some of them with no access to full actual basketball court, so they're kind of making do with what they got. You can definitely see some rust in the players, but like we said before, this is just start of the season, and we'll see where they go from here. But the Clippers were also missing, two of their best bench players, on the team, and in Lou Williams and Montrez. Lou Williams, he'll be back, I think pretty soon here. I think he had a 2-week quarantine, but Montrez, I don't think we got any update yet on when he will be returned to the team. So I think that's definitely going to be a tough loss for the Clippers moving forward. But even just with Lou Williams back, I mean, he is definitely a threat off the bench, and I mean, even in this game, I think we saw glimpses, when Kawhi and Paul George went to the bench, where that
Mhm.
Clippers team they kind of seemed to struggle, and they seemed kind of lost on offense, Um, and I think if you were to plug in, Lou Williams or Montrez in that type of lineup, they might have might fare out much better than they did Thursday night. But with that being said, they were not there. I mean, Paul George definitely showed out. I mean, I thought he was, besides, AD, of course, I thought he would have been the MVP, of the game for sure. 11 of 17 shooting, 6 of 11 from the 3-point line, 30 points. And definitely some big threes down the line, that corner three, and then the three at the top to, tie the game up, with about 20 or 30 seconds left. I mean,
Right.
definitely some big buckets from him. I mean, Kawhi looked all right, 11 to 13 from the free throw line, 28 points, 3 boards, 4 assists. Definitely a solid game. But the main player I was more concerned with was my main man, King James, King James. Um, this is kind of the first time I've not that I'm necessarily worried, but I mean he's gone against the Clippers 4 times now, 4 times, and Kawhi seems to get the better of him, just about every single one of these times. Now, given LeBron definitely stepped up, to the challenge defensively at times, and we definitely saw at the end of the game there. Bron stepped up and guarded Kawhi at the end of that game. Every possession, and then even switched on to Paul George as we saw. So not that LeBron has to do everything offensively, but I mean, shooting 6 to 19 shooting, like I mean, especially when we see some of these players in the bubble that are having some of the best performances, or they're balling out. You know, your teams need you need a superstar on your team to show up and put up that work, and seeing that 6 to 19 is just a little bit alarming at the very start. Not anything like crazy where I'm calling them washed or anything, but I mean definitely just something to kind of keep an eye on, and moving forward, kind of watch that, and hopefully as a Lakers fan you want that shooting number to rise. And as far as AD goes, I mean I think he's set. I think he's absolutely just kind of saving up now for the rest, for the playoffs. I mean, he put up a dominating 34 points, 8 boards, 4 assists. on 8 of 19 shooting. And he looked very solid from the 3-point line shooting wise. He looked solid inside. Looked solid defensively. So I'm eager to see what AD will bring for the playoffs, and hopeful that Bron will kind of show some more glimpses of his old self. I should say.
Yeah, hopefully LeBron improves on it. True. I think, hopefully he will. Hopefully, it's LeBron, so never doubt on LeBron. I've learned that from years past. Never doubt on LeBron, never count him out. So you never know. He could have a bad game one game, and the next game drop 50. So, once in a generation, lifetime player. Then yeah, like you said, Anthony Davis. I mean, was just balling out, man. He was going off. He didn't shoot, too bad. He could have been a little bit better. He was doing it on the defensive side too. I mean, he was doing it on both sides really. Um, had 8 rebounds, 4 assists even too. So, um, I know, that was first game. Like you said, he can definitely do better. LeBron can do better. And said Paul George, man's looking like that MVP form that we've seen. He got his shoulders both healthy. So I think that, that hiatus really helped him get healthy and get back to his old self. So we're seeing glimpses of Paul George coming back. I hope that it stays the same, throughout the rest of this and through the playoffs. Hopefully, that prime Kawhi and prime Paul George, Bron comes back, gets in his ways. That'll be a good Western Conference Finals for you. Just saying. I think it'll be better than the finals. I definitely think it'll be better than the finals.
I think if the Clippers and Lakers were to meet in that Western Conference Finals, I think it would definitely get more attention than the NBA Finals, maybe.
Oh yeah, man. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. Let's go to Friday's action. Bigger games. Grizzlies and Trailblazers start that one. Trailblazers take a 5-point win in overtime against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are in the eighth spot right now. Trailblazers are fighting for that spot. Jaren Jackson, 33 points, 6 for 15 from three, 10 of 22 from the field. Ja didn't do too bad, 22. Shot 7 of 22 though. You could do a little bit better. But on the Trailblazers side, we saw that trio of Lillard, McCollum, and Carmelo, bro. We saw it. McCollum dropped 33, Lillard 29, Carmelo 21, Nurkic even had 18. So I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, and I'm gonna stay with it. This Trailblazers team is team to look out for, man. I'm telling you, they could really make some noise. I'm telling you, for your Lakers, better watch out, bro.
I mean,
But
honestly,
what you take away from this game?
I mean, this was definitely a high scoring game. 140 to 135. I mean, a nice overtime thriller. Like you said, that three-headed monster, and CJ McCollum, Dame, and Melo is absolutely deadly. And I was just kind of waiting to more see what they kind of did in action. And they definitely showed out, and they definitely proved that they're here for it. And this is a team that they're ready to play, and they want to make it in that playoff spot, and they're not going to go down easily. And I think we saw that out of both teams right there, especially, I mean, the Grizzlies, like you said, Jaren Jackson, 33 points, very solid. John Morant, 22. We definitely are seeing some glimpses from this young Grizzlies team. And, I mean, frankly, I'm still shocked that they, have gotten this far, basically behind John Morant and, young Jaren Jackson. But, that team is very exciting. But, again, like you've been saying for a while now, man, this Trailblazers team, when you get them at full strength, and Zach Collins wasn't even that huge of a performance, simply because of Dame, CJ, Melo, all of which had fairly solid shooting nights as well. So I mean, when this team is performing at full strength, and they have their starters and bench going, I think this is a very dangerous team. And frankly, they might just give the Lakers a little bit of trouble in that first round if they were to slide into that 8th spot.
Yeah, they would. They are currently 2.5 games behind Memphis for that 8th spot, and they're actually playing right now, playing the Celtics. I believe they're yeah. Oh no, they're getting
Smacked right now.
whooped
They're getting
24 to
smacked right
42.
now.
They're well, let's talk about that in the next one. But yeah, so this team though, this Trailblazers team, they're starting to click and really, show like, hey, we're healthy and we're back, so don't count us out yet. And Damian Lillard, his mentality, he does not. He said that, ever since they thought about the bubble and coming back, he said he does not want to come here and waste his time, just playing these 8 games. He wants to be here for the long run, the playoffs and stuff like that. So both these teams, they're going to be going at it back and forth. I think for each game they play, they're going to be trying to win both these teams. Grizzlies trying to keep the 8th spot, Portland trying to stay at least 4 games within that 9th spot. Because remember, they stay 4 games in, you get that playing game, which I think that would be pretty exciting. Um, so we'll see what that brings us. Then another game on Friday, Celtics and Bucks. We saw Giannis, another MVP performance, man. Uh, Giannis, 36 points, 7 assists, 15 rebounds, 14 of 20 shooting, 1 for 3 from the three. Um, Lopez was doing his thing. He contributed. Chris Middleton, he contributed as well. But on Celtics side, I want to talk about Jason Tatum. 5 points,
Yikes.
2 for 18,
Oh,
0 for 4 from the three.
not a good look.
Yeah, it's not a good one. Plus, Kemba, he's on a minutes restriction as well. I don't know if he is today. But he only played 19 points in that game. So, you know, Jason Tatum for the Celtics, everybody was talking about, he's a blooming all-star. He's becoming like, a great player and stuff like that. Yeah, that was their first game back, but I think that he could do better than 5 points, 2 for 18. I definitely think Jason Tatum can do better than that. But let me get your input on the game right here.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. With all due respect to, Jason Tatum and his family, but he played like a bum. Um, he was honestly, I don't know why he showed up. 218. You kind of think after 15 missed shots, you might
That's
want to
terrible.
stop. But as much as I'm making fun of him, I don't think either one of these teams really necessarily played, 100%. I mean, definitely Giannis was out there, and he balled out. But Chris Middleton, his second star on that team, shooting 6 of 20.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also, I mean, that's 14 misses. I mean, that's just not a good look for your second main star on the team as well. But
Hmm.
luckily they were able to squeak out a 7-point victory over the Celtics, which most of them I credit that to Jason Tatum, helping the Bucks out there, putting on that Bucks uniform. Um, I mean, it was certainly incredible, but Jaylen Brown also shot 6 of 15. Not really known for his offense necessarily, more his defense, but I mean, definitely a player that you want shooting better than 6 of 15 out there, especially if you're going against the Bucks. I mean, you can't really play a bad game and expect to go out there and win. I mean,
Yeah.
not when you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, the way he's playing right now, it's almost like he's guaranteed to drop 30, double-digit rebounds and a handful of assists. I mean, the man's out there. It's like he's out there really playing a video game every night. It feels like. I mean, he's insane the stuff he's doing. But again, like I said, Chris Middleton needs to step up a little bit more and maybe a little bit more out of that bench. We saw a couple players step up, but more bench production and the starters and Bucks and Celtics both. That'll definitely be a heck of a matchup because I can definitely see them seeing each other in the playoffs come that time.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see, that could definitely be an Eastern Conference Finals matchup or, in that playoffs. The Bucks were missing a key player, Eric Bledsoe. He had the coronavirus a couple weeks ago, before this, restart and everything, so he's still home. haven't heard anything about him when he's supposed to arrive, but that was a key player that the Bucks were missing too. So hopefully he'll be back soon for the playoffs. Um, and help them with getting through the playoffs. I mean, they got the 1 seed, best record in the NBA. I don't think they're really fretting, worried about him coming. I think as long as he's here by the end of the month, they're in Orlando by the end of the month for the playoffs, they'll be all fine and there'll be no worries. So, there's a couple other games. You had the Kings and the Spurs. Kings took that one by 9. I'm sorry, Spurs took that one by 9. I just want to touch on De'Aaron Fox. He dropped a career high of 39 points on 7 of 33 shooting. So that was pretty big. DeRozan actually finally to show up, that game. 27 points, 10 of 13 shooting. So that ain't too bad as well.
Along with 10 assists as well.
Yeah, and 10 assists. So I mean
He had a heck of a game.
yeah, that is a pretty good game. Suns, no one cares about them. They won 125, 112. Didn't really touch on that. Last game from that night though, we got the Rockets and the Mavericks. A very high scoring game. I'm pretty sure they set the record for at the half for how many points were scored combined between the two. Final score 153 to 149. Houston takes the win. James Harden dropped 50 piece. First game back, 49 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. Almost had a triple double. Westbrook dropped 31, 11, and 8. So yeah, that's another triple double as well. Porzingis, man, we've been saying about that too. 39 points, 16 rebounds. I didn't even realize he had 39 points. So I mean, that was huge. Trey Burke, 31 points. He was balling. 8 of 10 from 3. Luka, 28 points. And then Tim Hardaway at 24. This was a very, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched, third quarter, fourth quarter. This was a, pretty good game, intense game. The Mavs were up. I remember when I turned it on, the Mavs were like up by a lot. They were up by like 20. But, I was watching the game. Doris Burke had said this, and it showed, that the Mavericks, they cannot close out games. They are struggled all season with closing out games. At the end of the game, it came down to free throws basically to tie the game up. Robert Covington gets a tip in, over Porzingis, his little spin move, and gets a tip in. Then they end up winning in overtime. So, what's this game to you, man? What do you see from this Mavericks team? James Harden balling out.
I mean, this game was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, for anyone watching who loves offense, they had all of that right here.
Oh yeah.
Russell Westbrook and James Harden were phenomenal. James Harden absolutely spectacular. 14 of 20 shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes he gets tripped on for he shoots 30 shots a game. Of course, he's gonna drop this many.
Mm-hmm.
Not Friday night. It was definitely a performance and a half, I should say. Got to give the man credit. 49 points is not easy. But
Especially first game back too.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So many questions about how would players do after all this off time, and he definitely showed out and showed up. But Russell Westbrook did have 31, 11, and 8, but he did it on 13 of 30 shooting.
Yeah.
My only critique with Russell Westbrook is he plays hard 110% of the time, and sometimes I think he just goes too hard, frankly, and he just doesn't know when to stop shooting, or sometimes it's just frankly it's just what it is for him. And I mean, they had one heck of a performance tonight, with 49 points, 31 points, 20 points from Daniel House, the Austin Rivers, Ben McLemore off the bench, 13 and 10 points each. I mean, everyone came to shoot today, and it was definitely an absolute clinic out there from the 3-point line. But my main takeaway really was with Kristaps Porzingis. I've been saying this for a little while now. Was the Mavericks are a good team, but And Luka's fantastic, but Kristaps is definitely going to be the one that can turn that team around. And
You know,
if he's playing the way he did in his New York Knicks days, I believe this is definitely one a dangerous team to come out of the West. Not saying they can win it all, but I mean definitely I could see them even upsetting some team to make it to the Western Conference Finals even possibly. I mean, this
yeah,
is a dangerous team. Obviously, 149 points, in a loss though. Like it's absolutely crazy what's going on right now.
right.
Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, Mavericks, got to take this loss, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't think too hardly about it. You got your team out there performing at an all-time high, but I think take away from this is you just got to work on your defense. Especially when you're going against a team like the Rockets, when it's going to be no big men, it's just going to be all outside or taking it inside to shoot shots. It's just game plan and really getting to know the team better, and I think that'll all come in the playoffs. So I think it's definitely going to be very interesting, and can't wait to look forward to it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Porzingis. I mentioned this about Paul George. Porzingis, same thing. He's been dealing with injuries all season long, so he's another player that that hiatus helped, and you know he's coming out, balling out first game. I mean, so many players, man. I've been watching the last couple of days, like just like basketball, like been here, like they've been hooping, just hooping out, dropping all these buckets and everything. So, I mean, I'm just, glad to see everybody, having fun and, these high scoring performances. But, back to the Mavs, I agree with you, man. They could be a dangerous team with dark horse, feel like everybody's always doubted the Mavs, especially when they went to the finals and played with or had Dirk and stuff like that, won the finals. Everybody counted them out. Nobody expected them to beat the Heat, but they did it. So, the Mavericks, they do their thing. Don't count them out as well, I guess. So, and then you never know. You never know. So, let's move on to Saturday, yesterday. Key games start with the Pacers and 76ers. And man, TJ Warren,
Oh,
uh, 53 points, a career high, 20 for 29 shooting, 9 from 12 from three. Men's just on a tear. I mean, looking at the box score right now, nobody else really scored. It was all of him. Depot and Aaron Holiday at 15, Doug McDermott and TJ McConnell at 10. But I mean, and they scored 127, like 53 points and 120. Like that's almost half your points, man. Half your team's points, and he only missed 9 shots. That's crazy. And then you look at the Sixers. Um, oh wow, Tobias Harris even had 30 points. Heat had 41. Ben Simmons put in 19. So that was really their three main scorers. Al Horford had 10 points. Shooting though, so that's not no, that's not too bad. That's um, but man, I mean, this Pacers team, there were a lot of questions in the air. You know, with Oladipo, of course, but he's playing. And then Sabonis, they lost him for the season due to a foot injury. So I mean, but shoot, I don't think TJ Warren, I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll drop 53 points again, but if they're balling like this, I mean, this is crazy. What's your takeaways from this game, man?
I mean, definitely, shocking 53-point performance. I can't say that I expected TJ Warren never drop, more than 30 in his career. Like
Right.
it's absolutely insane. Going along with 3 assists as well. And 2 blocks. He had a heck of a performance tonight. I mean, on Saturday night. And not to take anything away from it. And I don't see him replicating that performance necessarily. Night in or night out. But if he's definitely coming into the bubble ready to play, even dropping. I mean, even if he were to come out and drop 20, in low 20s or high teens.
Hmm.
In this Pacers team, they could definitely use Oladipo to step up a little bit. I mean, obviously, I think it was T.J. Warren's night to really step up and ball out. So I don't think maybe he got necessarily all the shots that he would have got necessarily on a normal night, but
Right.
him and Miles Turner were like, the two guys, especially when I look at that team that, if they're going to go out and win, those two guys have to have a good night, along with, I guess obviously TJ Warren, Doug McDermott, TJ McConnell, some of those players to, ball out. But I mean, definitely shocking to see that TJ Warren, has that in him, to say the least. That was definitely a shock to myself. But then going along with that, Joel Embiid, and the 76ers really did not have, too bad of a game at all, which I think even makes this Pacers performance in this win, even that much more, crucial and meaningful, to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh, Joel Embiid, 41 and 21. Like that's an insane game alone right there. You said Tobias, 30 points, 8 rebounds. Ben Simmons, 19 points. Um, Absolutely insane right there that, the Pacers were still able to, pull that out. If I were just to look at the box score and see the 76ers stats, I wouldn't have assumed that the Pacers walked away with the win here. So,
Right.
guys, it's definitely a good sign for the Pacers organization. And, you hopefully looking forward, you can hopefully get that performance or close to that performance out of TJ Warren. And, if Victor Oladipo show up and Miles Turner are there, then who knows, man? If that's just what the bubble is, then this could be a very, very interesting playoff. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, man. This bubble is different, man. I don't know what's up with the players, but I mean, I'm still shocked. Like, no other Pacer scored over 20 points. The second most was 15. Like TJ Warren, like, they were just dishing him the ball like crazy. And
And he was not.
like you said, I would have not thought, looking at Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, I would have definitely thought that that the Sixers would have won this game. But the Pacers are just a better team. So, I definitely think both these teams, good teams. They're both going at it. The Pacers are at that 5 spot. Sixers are at that 6 spot. It's a game in between them, literally. So that's going to be a tough race coming down, the stretch. Obviously, the Sixers want to try and move up. They probably don't want to play Boston in the first round. And then Indiana, I don't see them wanting to play Miami because they're a dangerous team as well. So, uh, it's exciting to see. I mean, guys just balling out. And, I feel like the Pacers, they keep this up. They could shock everybody. I mean, not in the playoffs, maybe. You never know, but they're definitely playing some great basketball as of late. Then so another game, Heat and Nuggets, 125-105. You got any takeaways from that? I mean, I watched glimpses of it. Nuggets weren't really playing that well. Plus, they didn't have Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, or Will Barton. So
I mean, I will say, I mean, he did take a 20-point victory in that game, but one takeaway I would have is that Kelly Olynyk came in there, and I don't know if you saw in the fourth quarter, I think he dropped 18 points, or he
he
might have
scored.
been.
No, he scored. I heard he scored all
Was it all
20.
20? Okay, I wasn't sure but yeah, shooting 8 of 11, in that quarter alone, and I mean, frankly, I think that's really what secured the game for the Heat down the stretch right there, and
Yeah,
like you said, definitely the Nuggets were missing some of their key players, in the starting lineup and to round out that bench, but if Kelly Olynyk's coming to play, I mean, this Heat team is very interesting in my eyes. I don't really know what to make of them, so if we have Kelly Olynyk, coming performing like really like this, and he played, just basically in one quarter all the numbers he put up. I mean,
hmm
this Heat team could maybe even do something as well, just based off that performance right there.
yeah, yeah. Not a bad performance from Kelly Olynyk, all 20 points in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I would say that close out the game. I agree with you there. Jazz Thunder. Thunder take a 110-94 victory. I don't think there's anything big here. I know Chris Paul, he did his thing. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Really, that whole starting lineup, looking at it now, has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 19, 2 and 6, Gallinari 15, 4, and Steven Adams 16, 11 and 2. And just like I said before, that this OKC team, man. I mean,
And they just continue to shock people.
Continue to shock people. I mean, they were playing the Jazz, for another thing, so I'm not really too shocked. I mean, still, they're still shocking me winning games and stuff like that. So it's great to see them, continue to win and showing Chris Paul and his leadership.
Absolutely.
Um, Pelicans Lakers. I'm sorry, Pelicans Clippers. Clippers, 126-103 victory by the third quarter. It was like over. Really by the second half. Paul George, 28 points, 8 of 11 from three. Kawhi, 24 points. Didn't really shoot that well though, 6 for 16. So you do a little bit better. Then on the Pelican side, Zion only had 7 points. Brandon Ingram, 14 points on 5-11 shooting. Um, yeah, not really that good. I know the Clippers almost set the record for most threes. No, they set a franchise record. I know you don't care about that, but I'm just here to say just here to say
Well, I
25
did. Yeah,
threes. So.
I did watch that whole game actually, and I mean it was over from like the get go. Really, I mean Clippers set the franchise record with 25 threes for themselves, which is absolutely phenomenal. I mean,
Mhm.
I know you didn't get to watch the whole game, but oh my gosh, if you just every shot that went in from the 3-point line was, I mean, just butter. It was insane how well they were shooting it, and I mean it was everybody. I mean even that dude Pat Bev, whatever, he and splashed a couple threes, so
uh, yeah,
impressive
I
work
saw
for
I
both.
saw like the first half, like at the first half, they had made like 16 threes. I think it was one shy of the Warriors record, the all-time record. Um, and they were shooting like 64% or something, 64 67%.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
it
dang,
was
like from
it was
three,
getting
like,
ridiculous.
if you got a team, if you're shooting like that, like, no. And if the other team can't match that, like, that's GG's right there, man.
Oh, it
That's,
was. It was over. It was over at halftime. It was like a 40-point game or 30-point. I mean, it was.
yeah.
I turned it off. I mean, I frankly, if the Pelicans were even playing half decent, Clippers would have broke the 3-point record. If they were actually trying.
Yeah.
They didn't care. It was over. It was over, basically after the first quarter in my eyes.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, great win by the Clippers, great bounce back win, after they lost to the Lakers the other day. So then you go the last game of last night, the Raptors and the Lakers. Raptors win 107-92. I mean, Kyle Lowry, 33 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Kyle Lowry. Um, OG Anunoby, 23 points, 8 for 9 shooting, 3 of 3 from the 3-point line. And then Siakam did his thing. Van Vliet did his thing, 13. And then you go to the Lakers, AD didn't really have that great game. 14 points, 2 of 7 from shooting. Bron, 20 points, 7 for 15 shooting. And that's about it for the Lakers right there. Looking at it, Kuzma, 5 for 13. Wow.
And then,
Marquis,
did you see Danny Green?
dang.
Danny Bricks?
Yeah, Danny Britt. Where did Danny Green? Danny Green, 0 for 7. Wow.
Danny Bricks was absolutely lighting it up.
Jeez. Dion went 4 for 11. Dang.
Yeah, I think the whole Lakers team decided that they were just gonna just wait it out to the playoffs. I guess no one really decided that they were
They got that
going
win
to
on
go for
Thursday,
play.
and then, all right, we beat the Clippers. That's all
Yeah,
I
they
care
said it was
about.
over. They honestly thought they won the ship or something, I guess. But they did not come ready to play against the Raptors at all, really. I mean, they just looked a step behind basically the whole game. Just from my personal opinion watching it, the Raptors just looked like they really wanted it more. And I mean, Kyle Lowry was really a game changer. He come down and he just splashed a three right in someone's face, and I mean it was just some of the plays that they were able to make. I mean you could tell Lakers definitely just didn't want it as much, and I mean the Raptors looked energized, and I mean it was an easy win for them, frankly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, you shouldn't like that. I mean, and it wasn't even like, Lakers are good, but I'm looking at this box score, and there are multiple guys that like did not shoot good. I think the best is Dwight Howard 2 for 2. That's the best. And JaVale McGee 1 for 3. That's about
Caruso
it.
went 3 for 6. I mean, Brian went 7 of 15. That's like almost 50%. I mean, the team just did not shoot that well. It was not a great performance at all whatsoever. I mean, frankly, they just looked like they left everything they had out on Thursday, and they just didn't bring anything, the following game. So
Hopefully they can bounce back tomorrow night against the Jazz. Monday night against the Jazz. I think they will. Favored to win it by 6 points. So we'll
we'll see.
see. We'll see about that. Um, man, these games, great to see basketball. First of all, and
Mm.
second of all, I mean, we're getting so many players. I mean, Anthony Davis, Porzingis, Harden, Giannis, even Brown on the defensive side. Paul George, guys are coming out and balling like this hiatus never even happens. Like, it's just right there. They're right back to it, and you know, I think it's the 17th starts the playoffs. The 14th is the last day of the regular season, yeah. So the 17th would start the NBA playoffs. So if there's a play-in game, with that 8 and 9 seed in the West, I don't think there will be in the East. It'll be between then. But about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks will be in that playoffs. I'm excited, man. I mean, just from seeing these games that have came up recently, um, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I was myself. How is this gonna look without the fans and stuff like that?" Like, I don't think the players care, honestly.
No, I don't think so.
And there's no home court advantage either. Like, I think the players are liking it. Just able to go out there and play the game that they love and are paid to play. I think they're loving it. So, glad to see basketball back and enjoy the NBA. I catch myself just wanting to watch some games. Just sit. It can be a terrible game, but just want to sit and watch, man. It's
Yep.
great to see everyone back. Back doing their thing, stuff like that. So, what a time to be alive.
Absolutely. It's a great time just to sit back, watch some NBA, order Domino's like myself, and
Sure.
get it going, man. It's a great time.
Yes, sir. Well, that is gonna conclude our show for our episode for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.